am Tracy Weller from Never Too Late to Write. I am so excited to have you here talking with me about your blog and just some really important themes that I've found there. Thanks so much for being with me.
Well, thank you very much, Monica, for inviting me. I was honored.
Well, in your blog, you explicitly say you call yourself a second act evangelist. And I'm just wondering if you can tell us a little bit about what that means to you and maybe what the difference is between the first act and the second.
The way I see it, or the way it's been in my life, and I know from talking to the people that participate on my blog that it's the same for quite a few. The first act is where you complete all of the life's tasks that you feel are expected of you. You go to school, you get your degree or your certificate, you marry or you don't, you have children or you don't, you build a career or you don't, you buy a house or you don't, but you make all of these life choices. And you reach a certain point, whether that's in your 30s or your 40s, where you've passed all of those points. You're saying, okay, this is where I am now. I've done all of these things. And you can sort of check off all the boxes. And that's when a lot of people say, okay, now what? Because you've been meeting obligation. You've been doing what others expect. And there may just be that still small voice inside that says, but what about blank? That thing that you've always wanted to do that kind of got pushed to the side because it didn't quite fit with the expectations that you felt you had to meet. The second act is the time when you say, I think I'm going to try this now. And it comes in all shapes and sizes, and people do it in a variety of ways. But that I wanted to call it a second act and not a midlife crisis or a boomer thing, because I didn't want to associate it with a particular age. Because I think some people may embark on a second act in their early 30s. It all depends on where your life is and we all have different life experience. So someone may do a whole pile of things in their 20s and be ready for a second act in their 30s. So I didn't want to dismiss the notion that it could happen earlier or later. Some people don't get the chance until they're in their 60s, and then that's their second act. So I wanted to differentiate it that way.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think the other theme that's so prevalent, in fact, you named your blog after it, is that it's never too late. And so 60, 70, 80, it's just never too late. Can you talk to us a little bit more about that?
It was my own mantra. And through all of the years that I spent, working in a variety of other careers and raising my son and doing all the things that had to be done and not really having any energy left for the things that I kind of hoped I would do eventually, I had to keep believing that it was never too late. And then my father he said something to me once that I've never really forgotten, looking back on his life from the perspective of a man in his 80s and saying, wow, had I decided to do such and such when I retired in my late 50s, I would have had 30 years to do what I wanted to do. He said, but I thought it was too late. And that always stuck with me.
And there's this sense of reinvention, right? It's suggesting that we don't have to continue to be who we've been.
Yes.
So, what does reinvention look like to you?
Reinvention is both a challenge and a pleasure. And I think quite a number of people have issues with change. I mean, I don't know about you. I see it in family. I see it in friends. Just the notion of anything that makes things different. When we moved from the town that we lived in to come up here, we still have people that won't talk to us because we left, because we changed, and and people create this whole negative sense of what change can mean instead of seeing it as a positive. So reinvention Well, think of the title of your blog, Acorn Oak Forest. It says so much because really that's really where we all are in our life. We always are. We are always on a journey. Anyone who thinks that they've arrived or that nothing has to change from this point forward, we are always an acorn. We can deny it, but and try not to change, but we are going to change. It's inevitable. So reinvention is almost an inevitable part of life. It's also a romantic part of life if we choose it to be. It's waking up each day and knowing that we can change. We can make things different. We can say, this isn't working. I need to change this. I can change this. Believing that you can change it.
Yes, that change is okay. It's uncomfortable sometimes, but it is okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for talking with me tonight, Tracy. I really have enjoyed this and learning a little bit more about your blog space. And again, that's nevertoolatetowrite.com.
Thank you very much, Monica. It was a pleasure.